presentation about shared parenting, mainly focused on the Nordic countries, and of course the global goals for sustainable development, where especially shared parenting is targeted goal number 5 on gender equality, but also goal number 3 on good health and well-being for everyone in society. My name is Jesper Lohse. I have a background from the business environment where I've been working as a strategic learning management consultant for international organizations, working in many different countries and culture. I've also been the chairman of the Danish Father Association since 2012. I'm coordinating chairman of Nordic Fathers since 2017. And ICSP board member also since 2017. I'm appointed by the Danish Social Minister for the Committee on Family Courthouses in Denmark, and also currently on the National Human Rights Council in Denmark. What is maybe of most interest in this relation is that I, for 2 years, prepared and analyzed using the hard case analysis method of the Danish family court system from a leadership perspective. What was the challenges and how could we create a success? Many of those analyzed items that we found during the analysis has already been part of the Danish legislation or is prepared to do so. Our work is available free on the worldparents.org website, where you also find the Nordic report that we're talking about today. What we've done is that we, since 2012, have made these Nordic reports and surveys on fathers about shared parenting and gender equality in the Nordic countries. The latest survey we made includes 3,500 Nordic fathers, and it has been prepared in collaboration with 5 of the largest Nordic children and father organizations, most experienced organizations, also working for shared parenting and gender equality, both for men and for women. So I'll discuss what is the background for the survey. We will talk about parenting time in the Nordic countries currently, discrimination that is observed, and what is the key challenges. And I'll also present you of the human rights case that we currently are running against the Danish government that is expected to go to the Human Rights Court in Strasbourg. The recent Nordic survey, as I mentioned, includes 3,500 Nordic fathers. It involves all of the 5 Nordic countries. 82% of the fathers has today shared custody. And in average, the fathers has approximately 2 children, and that being equally boys and girls. The survey also is representative on educational levels and also income levels in the Nordic countries. Looking at the parenting time, and I should say that 2/3 of the respondents of this survey are living in 2-home families. That's quite normal to see that those fathers has the most interest in these surveys. So 1/3 is living together still with the mother, and there's definitely data on that. But 2/3 of the survey respondents are living in 2-home families. What is very clear is also that equal parenting time is the most used visitation model, parenting time model in the Nordic countries today. It is the norm, and it's also the fastest growing. Approximately around 50% of the 2-home families are using or more are using equal parenting time today. We also, on the other hand, experience a serious problem in the families where there is no contact for the children, mainly towards their fathers. And of course, positive father involvement is very important for children and for society in general, talking about public health and definitely also global goals towards year 2030. There is a serious problem in lost contact and that for children with one of their parents, mainly the fathers. We expect that it's about 10% of the children that has lost contact with the fathers. That can be due to the fathers don't want to take responsibility, but what we see more and more, that's definitely the largest group of those, is that lost contact can be due to parental alienation, which is a severe problem that needs to be handled in society. Looking at discrimination based on the family forms, we can also see from the survey and from other surveys that it's very clear that the culture and in the law between the parents and also practices related to both local and central government is that there is a clear discrimination of children and fathers as soon as we talk about two-home families. Even if the fathers has equal parenting time, they still experience severe discrimination in society. Most of the fathers often experience it, but sometimes, rarely, it's also responded, but it's more than 80%, almost 90% of fathers in two-home families that clearly experience discrimination, also today where shared parenting is the norm in daily life. When we ask the fathers about which area they experience discrimination in, it's also very clear that the very old-fashioned, outdated family law related to residents and non-residents is the main problem currently in the law and creating problems throughout the family systems in Denmark and in the Nordic countries. Also, of course, this is related to public children cases where the culture is not based on shared parenting to the extent that we see it in society. So we see families in society using shared parenting and using it as clearly as a norm today, but the norm is still not shared parenting within the public sector, within the family court and legal system, and even in the family law. There still is quite a few problems in the law in the Nordic countries, although that is definitely going to improve within the next couple of years. Children benefits is another issue that is important, where the fathers are stating discrimination, that children benefits only is allowed or provided to the residential parent. And of course, that creates a large number of family conflicts in society, and also means that fathers that might be better parents or equal parents simply are losing contact to the child based on children and welfare benefits. Public information has been improved in society for both parents, both with traditional family forms, but also two-home families. But still, that's an example of where we clearly see discrimination of fathers throughout society, throughout, no matter which family forms. We are still not able, in all information provided by public or private institutions, to provide free digitalized emails to both the parents. We mainly see that today now within the bank, insurance, research institutions that often only still are sending letters to the mother, although we have last year got a law in Denmark making it actually legal not to send information about children to both families. Still, there's some issues in the law that if you're living in two-home families, then the law does not it's not fully implemented. But other situations, parental leave, we have got a new legislation in Denmark where parental leave are divided 50-50 to each parent. with approximately 3 months to each parent, which is earmarked. And that's definitely going to enhance the collaboration or the situation for children and fathers in society. Even within the next year, we expect to have much more shared parenting than we have ever seen before in the Nordic countries. Looking at family violence where the fathers are the victims of the children, 50% of the 3,500 fathers that participated actually stated that they have experienced family violence where the father was the victim. We know from the fathers and also from this survey that most of the violence is psychological violence, and that can be all from shouting, from telling the father you're not good enough parent, to using the children to be violent against the father, maybe not providing the same equal opportunities for the fathers, or talking bad about the fathers, making false accusations in the worst examples. But it's a general situation that fathers today in the Nordic countries experience family violence where the fathers are the victims. We also see from other surveys that today we have a situation in the Nordic countries where family violence is mainly against the fathers, but of course also still against women. And that's just as severe, just as important to handle. But we do see that the situation is that more fathers now are victims of family violence. And that's also what the children are stating in national surveys, that more mothers are today violent against fathers than the opposite. But psychological violence and financial violence, that's the main type of violence that we see in families today in the Nordic countries. When we then look at what is the impact and effect of discrimination against shared parenting, against positive father involvement, we get quite some interesting numbers. We do see that the relation to children, of course, is being impacted catastrophically or significantly affected by the discrimination and lack of shared parenting. But what is also important is that the relation to the extended family, to family in general, but also the mental well-being of the fathers is significantly affected by the discrimination. What is very important and interesting is, of course, that the fathers will clearly have a lack of trust in the authorities. And of course, that can be quite severe in society. We do see a lot of changes in political parties and politicians being voted in parliament. But we also see throughout the public authorities that more and more fathers has a severe lack of trust in the authorities, and that's definitely not something that you would prefer to have in society. There's a lack of trust in others, and what is of course important is that the children's health and well-being stated by the fathers is significantly or even catastrophically damaged by the discrimination of the fathers. We also see a clear tendency or patterns toward suicidal thoughts, that both children and fathers are able to get suicidal thoughts based on discrimination. So the key challenge in Nordic society today related to shared parents, that's definitely the legal rights. It's the residential and non-residential opportunity to have double residence, which is possible today if the parents agree, but not to be decided by the family courts today. But we do have double residence, but of course that should be the norm, just as we have shared parenting in society being the norm. So the fathers are stating that legal rights is still the main problem within the family system, and also information and counseling and prevention of family conflicts is what should be in focus. Financial aid is welfare benefits, that if the father gets fired or being sick or are earning less money than the mother, which is quite normal in our societies today, well, then there's definitely a lack of financial aid for the father. And about 50% of the participants when we ask in surveys of the fathers are actually today wanting to participate in class actions against the national government related to discrimination, related to the lack of human rights protection within the family's legislation and practices. So one of the things we're doing right now is that we, together with human rights lawyers, are working on a human rights case where we have taken 47 legal issues in law for shared parenting, and that will go to court in Denmark. It's related to paternity leave, where you might have a 50-50% right, but if you are in a two-home family, you cannot be sure that you are able to use that right. There's still some minor issues related to the shared information, which has been decided by now that if you are living in a two-home family, you still cannot be sure that you do receive the information about your child. Also, the private research institutions, banks, and so on, are still, in many cases, sending the letters about the children to the mothers. There will be about 16 specific items in the family law where there is a discrimination of residential and non-residential parent. And welfare benefits, we have found about 12 items that we will take into the court case about welfare benefits, where they are not based on shared benefit, based on actual needs, but simply based on the fact whether you are a residential or non-residential parent. Related to family violence, we've just last week seen new parliament decisions that support should be the same for men and women now, but that has not yet been implemented. But this is actually one of the things we might take out of the court case against the Danish government. About the family legals, the state legal system, there's about 11 items. That's all related to discrimination and human rights protection. It's about not being able to have civil rights within reasonable time. It's about not having equal treatment, and it's about legal security in the family legal system, where culture due to the law, but also culture due to lack of education and lack of shared parenting is still a problem. And then we have the biological parents, that issue that children should have a lifelong right to know and be cared for by their parents. That's a human right for children, but it's not always that way in practices. In the Danish children law, you need to register the father within 6 months. But after the 6 months, you might have a father registered that is not really your biological father. So increasingly, due to divorces, due to social media, due to DNA testing, more and more children find out who are the real fathers today, but the law is still lagging behind, that they are not able to register that. So, of course, that's a clear legal issue related to family law. So these are just examples of a specific case that is being run for principal reasons we are related to shared parenting in Denmark. So looking at shared parenting in the Nordic countries, we are not only looking at equal parenting time, but we are looking at about 10 different aspects of shared parenting, all from biological parenting and respect for that, public information, parental leave, double residence, equal parenting time, welfare benefits for equally shared, the public children cases that normally will be discussed the most, international parenting, parents, family violence, and also funding statistics and research. So looking at this from just establishing what is the current Nordic Equality Index level, we are working on characters from 0 to 5, where we try to establish what is the current situation right now in the Nordic countries related to shared parenting. So even though the Nordic countries are the most gender equal countries in the world, they are also stated to be that, related to shared parenting, we definitely are seeing positive results in society, with equal parenting time being the norm today, with shared parenting being the norm today in society, but the law is simply outdated. So this is still causing a lot of problems, and that is the main challenge in Denmark, that is to get a shared parenting legislation that are in line with society. Thank you very much for me, and please go into the website and just be able to look at the report directly on the website, and it's 100% open and free for everyone to use.